Chucky. And I'm your friend to the end. Heidi fucking ho. Ha, ha, ha.
And welcome back to Chucky Queers. It's our weekly coverage of Don Mancini's sci-fi show. And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we are discussing the mid-season finale, Season 3, Episode 4, Dressed to Kill. And I gotta say, I had fun with this one. I think, as a mid-season finale, I do think this works.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that you had enjoyed it because you messaged me, and I mostly felt the same. I think it's fun. Again, I think it's a little bit slight. I don't know if I was just hoping for something a little bit more substantial, but when the episode ended, I was like, that was kind of fun. Where did we move in terms of narrative progression? Not very far.
And this is not me like clapping back at you, but I feel like that's a complaint you do have a lot of these episodes of Chucky. And again, I know we talked about it before, like episodic, like, you can't really get the full picture until you watch the whole season. Mm-hmm. But I do understand where you're coming from. I guess maybe I'm also being more lenient because I don't know this was the original decision. It does seem like a strike affected decision. So I'm kind of like, they did what they could to make this feel like a proper like ending, or like it's kind of a cliffhanger, I guess. I mean, the cliffhanger just being that Chucky's curse didn't work. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, I think those are all fair points. I do think this is a challenge that I regularly have with episodic recaps because I mean, you're taking a single hour of television out of context for where it's intended to go. But yeah, I mean, overall, this was fun.
I mean, it's apparently really easy to get into the White House.
So darn easy. Well, I mean, admittedly, we have cozied up to one of the first sons. So I imagine Grant has a certain amount of pull.
I will say, the critique I will offer is this does feel overstuffed, if only because, and look, I like the Jennifer Tilly stuff in this episode, but because the whole thing was kind of centered around like this Halloween party, every time we got back to her, I was like, oh, this feels very separate. I like watching it, but it is taking away from our central trio.
Okay, so where do you want to start? Do you want to focus on the White House stuff or the Jennifer Tilly of it all?
The Jennifer Tilly of it all is probably the slightest. So why don't we start there and then we can do the actual like plot related stuff.
Okay, so yes, we didn't anticipate we would be seeing more Jennifer Tilly.
I was wrong.
Here she is. Yeah, so we watch her as she goes to maximum security prison. She's going to be killed by lethal injection in 3 weeks.
In 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's how it works, but maybe. I mean, look, I am from Texas. Admittedly, I am not a lawyer. I don't think you can execute someone in 3 weeks, but that's just me.
No, I think she'd probably spend a couple of years on death row, but it's fine. So she is introduced to guard Erica Dorset, who is not going to take any of her shit, but is also barely an obstacle for Tiffany, as she wants to be called.
Okay, but biggest laugh of the episode, like, can I still call you Jennifer? No, bitch.
No bitch. Yeah, lots of fun with that. We don't really do much with this character. Like, we're obviously setting it up for the end of the episode when this woman becomes a pawn and she's going to be collecting various items from the guards so that Tiffany can escape from prison. But really, she's the initial hurdle. And then, of course, we also have special guest star Nia Vardalos as Evelyn Elliott, who is playing something of a Martha Stewart character.
Yeah. Yes. I saw her name in the credits and I was like, what is Nia Vardalos doing in this episode?
Apart from the fact that she is a Canadian, so of course she's like locally based where they shoot.
Sure. I truthfully, and you're gonna think I'm so stupid for thinking this, I was like, okay, does Jennifer Tilly want out of this franchise and we're just gonna transfer our soul into Nia Vardalos and she's gonna be like the new Tiffany? I mean, look, I want Jennifer Tilly to stay in this show always, but there are times where I'm like, I feel like she's so separate from everything else going on in the show that it doesn't feel like that Mancini and co. always know what to do with Tiffany. So I hope that she gets brought back into the fold more. Nevertheless, as just an amusing cameo, I really like this Nia Vardalos.
Yeah, it was fun, and then it was over too soon, but it's our big death scene. Well, one of our big death scenes for the episode as we play marionette with this woman.
Which again, I was like, because we've never, I guess, well, no, we have seen voodoo done because the first Child's Play with the voodoo doll, that was something that was done where Chucky breaks the guy's leg. But I don't think we've seen voodoo dolls since then.
Yeah. And of course, we're using the Voodoo for Dummies book again. So, which makes sense because it's got multiple chapters in it.
I do think Nia Vardalos is a good comedian, but I'd never seen her really do like physical comedy like this before. And so I was really, and again, you're right, it's over too soon. I was like, oh, we're just done with Nia Vardalos.
Yeah, but watching her dodge the knife as she's doing this cooking demonstration, I was honestly uncomfortable thinking about, oh, she's going to stab herself in the fucking eye or the face or something.
I kept thinking, there's a cop with a gun pointed at her. Why don't you just kneecap her or something?
100%. As always, it's Chucky. You've got to suspend your disbelief because I thought the exact same thing. Like, what guard would just be standing there watching as this inmate self-harms? Yeah.
But nevertheless, yeah. So Tiffany, basically, but we haven't seen it yet, but she will escape prison because she voodoos the guard and she's going to voodoo all the other guards that are guarding the 6 guards that are guarding the exit, including one sniper, and she'll be out. So
part of me kind of hopes that we don't belabor this point and it just becomes a fun heisty montage, kind of like the opening credits where we're going through the security layout of the White House. Like, I kind of want to see that when we come back and it's just like, here's her marionetting these 6 different people and then she's just out of jail.
Well, and I get that she's just a special guest star, but I feel like all 3 seasons have followed this trajectory where we keep everything so separate, and then the last like 2-ish episodes we bring everyone together. Right. It's fine. I do kind of want to see a season where we have, hey, everyone in the fold. But I guess when you have like 30 different plot lines going on, that does make it a little difficult.
Yeah, even the season 1 finale, right, where it ended on that cliffhanger where it's the Tiffany doll and then Alex Vincent driving off in the truck, and we thought, oh, maybe these 2 are going to have to spend some time together, and it's like, no, not really.
No, we just drive off a cliff. But it's fine. At the very least, the show is never boring or it doesn't feel pacey in that way because we're always moving shit along.
Truly. Yeah.
So moving on to our kids then and the White House party. What do you think?
Okay, so I appreciate that we acknowledge that they don't have much of a plan because it seems pretty evident as they're making the way in. It's like, wait, what are you going to do? You're going to film Chucky being alive and somehow live stream that. Of course, we're referencing things like deep fakes, but I don't know. I think part of my, not frustration, but the thing that I was hoping for is that we would see more elaborate costumes and we would spend more time with the Halloween party. And maybe there's a bunch of Easter eggs that I missed in this. I think some of the costumes are probably going to be more significant when people can pause and rewatch and that kind of thing. But I will say I appreciated that all 3 of our trio are dressed in various stages of good guy dolls.
Oh, see, for me, it was all the Phantom of the Opera stuff. I was like, of course, Chucky's Phantom of the Opera, but I didn't think we were going to get a chandelier. So the first time we see that chandelier, I was like, oh, we're doing Phantom of the Opera.
It took me forever to figure that out. In part because I was trying to figure out exactly what his costume was. Like, it didn't click for me immediately.
Really?
Yeah, I saw the mask, but I didn't realize like, oh, the cape. And I think it's because I expected half a face as opposed to a full mask.
Right. I guess the extra thing this episode, though, is Sarah Sherman's nanny, Annie. Oh, my God. So I didn't know this because I haven't watched SNL in years, but I didn't know that Sarah Sherman plays Chucky on SNL parodies of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you've been name dropping her all season, teasing her arrival. And I confess, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I didn't know who she was.
Okay, this is a total like personal aside for me. So I didn't know who she was because I don't watch SNL, but I went to a stand-up comedy show last year with 3 female comedians, and it was Megan Stalter from Hacks and Patty Harrison from I Think You Should Leave, and Sarah Sherman, and she was the one I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
I will say she's very funny. She's clearly only in this episode because of that whole relationship, but it's cute. She has nothing to do but show up and be nice to Henry for a bit and then get her face sliced off somehow by this chandelier. But
yeah, see, again, that I think is part of the slightness, and maybe I will have this proven wrong and we'll come back and there will be like a Halloween part 2 as episode 5. But part of me was like, okay, so we're just introducing this character to kill her. And it feels like if you don't understand her significance from the personal connection, it's just like, what is this character? Why are we bringing her in? And those are the kinds of things where it feels like an Easter egg that is unnecessary. And I think it actually slows things down because we could have been spending more time on other aspects in this episode.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's still fun to watch, but yeah, like in terms of like narrative momentum, there's not really a lot being done here. We are trying to do more with the president and his wife, though, because Devon Sawa spends half the episode chasing either Chucky or a hallucination. I couldn't really tell what it was half the time.
I think it's meant to be half and half. Like, definitely the second time we see it when he's in the ballroom with everyone, that to me was definitely Chucky. But the earlier part, the first time, definitely seemed more like, oh, it's his grief, because of course it's the 1 year anniversary since Joseph died. And we're throwing this whole benefit in his honor because he loved Halloween and all these other things. It's interesting. I'm not quite sure where we're going to go with this. I did think we were going to kill Devon Sawa here, so I was kind of glad that we did.
I thought, because anytime someone does this,
yeah,
you're just like, all right,
you're waiting for it.
You're waiting for it. So I appreciate the restraint there, but also because to kill the president, like I feel like we're going to be out of the White House then. So like that has to be safe for the end of the. Although I really hope that Devon Sawa's character doesn't die this season.
Yeah, it just feels like it would be too big an incident also, right? Like, yeah, I feel like these kids getting connected to the death of a sitting president would be fucking massive.
Yeah.
We could kill the kids, but I don't think we can kill the parents.
But what I hope for future seasons, though, is that so let's keep Devon Sawa alive. Maybe we don't keep this president as like a main character for the show, but like maybe in future seasons we just see addresses by the president on TV. Yeah, that would be fun. I think we're still going to lose the first lady at some point, but again, I'm hoping it's until later. That is the subplot that's kind of like, okay, like do something with this, please. It's her with Gil Bellows. We have that one scene with them where he's like blackmailing her for whatever, and she's not happy. And I'm like, okay. And maybe this clearly will lead somewhere in the back half of the season. But right now, we just have that one scene, and it's kind of like, okay, should I care about this right now?
Question for you. Did you get a weird sexy vibe from the two of them?
If only because their fight seemed very flared up, but I didn't really think about it until you mentioned it. So no, but I'm not shutting you down.
Yeah, it almost seemed to me like there was going to be a weird reveal that the reason that he trusts her over her husband, not just because of the transparency thing, but I thought we were going to do a weird reveal that they used to date or something unusual.
I mean, we might be heading there. Although I had to go back and watch the episode where he's introduced because I don't remember seeing like a moment of a look of familiarity between them.
Right.
What did work for me though is the bonding between Lexi and Grant. Although I will be okay if I never hear "Don't Fear the Reaper" in any piece of media ever again.
I know. It was one of those needle drops where I just thought, no, everybody has done this, please.
It's entirely possible that this franchise has done it before, and maybe that's the reference. But as soon as she was like, oh, I love Blue Oyster Cult, and I'm like, she's like, this is my favorite song. And I was like, if you play fucking Don't Fear the Reaper, I thought it was going to be some deep cut.
Also, some like 16-year-old, 17-year-old saying, my favorite band, I love this song. Like,
which, given what we know about Lexi, that doesn't seem like something she would actually. But you know what? Whatever. Nevertheless,
it's fine.
Outside of that, I did like her moments with Grant.
100%. And again, I do think that that's maybe where some of my, again, like gentle frustrations with these episodes is coming from, is that these emotional moments are landing really, really well for me. And then the ridiculousness of some of these deaths, which, as we've said, are so over the top and gory. I'm loving both of those polarities, but it's kind of like the middle stuff. Like so much of this episode is like, let's go into this room and nothing happens. Let's have Chucky do something, but it doesn't really seem to matter all that much. Like, I think I just want more of the moments that really land.
I think I don't even disagree with you. I do think at the end of the day, because this is a franchise that has spanned like the entire spectrum of tone from serious horror to comedy, and the show is trying to do all of that, which admittedly is a very tough task. I think for the most part, it balances it very well.
Mhm.
But again, like there are things where like, oh god, the nosy reporter from the premiere who gets cut in half and takes us.
Right?
I was like, oh, we're just done with her, I guess.
She's done. It does feel like back half of the franchise Chucky, right? Where people are introduced and they just die horribly a couple of minutes later, and you think, oh, okay, yeah, you're done. You're over with. I do think there's still a potential that that character is going to end up having some sort of impact on the narrative. But yeah, I was also surprised that it's like, oh, hey, lady, we haven't seen you in a while, but now you're back to die.
It's kind of interesting, and this isn't even me excusing it, but more so how I'm viewing the show. So you
Mhm.
know how like Adam Sandler has all those like shitty Netflix movies that he does.
Yep.
And most time they're not good per se, although I will die on the hill of Hubie Halloween. But the critique always is he just got a bunch of his friends together for a weekend to go
Right.
hang out and film stuff. And it's not a movie, it's just all of them having fun.
Mhm.
The success of the films depends on if we were having fun with them too. And I
Yeah.
do get that vibe from this show quite often. I am having fun with it, so I'm able to
Mhm.
overlook it. And again, trusting like, well, this is probably going to go somewhere, but it's so dumb that I just kind of don't care.
Yeah, dumb in the right ways if it's landing for you. And I do think what ends up happening almost every year is I make these critiques and you are more fine with them. And then by the end of the season, I usually end up coming around.
But it's not even that I'm just missing your critiques. It's 100% and it doesn't bother me situation. And maybe it's because I'm not putting Chucky on this pedestal of quality of like, oh, like it's like this is cinema or television. And not that you're doing that too. But I don't know. I just I guess I'm just kind of like more along for the ride.
Right.
Which is not really what a critic should be doing. But
I mean, are we really doing criticism here? I
No.
think part of this is we're watching the episodes, we're talking about our immediate reactions to them, and then sometimes we wrap it up with a nice bow at the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, Chucky is one of those shows where so much of the time it just feels completely different to everything else on TV because it is a show that often just feels pure escapism.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, nevertheless, I'm really excited to see where we go. I mean, the writer strike is over, the actor strike is not. So at least we know they can start writing the next 4 episodes.
Yes.
I don't see production happening until 2024.
Yeah, we don't actually know how far they got, if they had managed to shoot additional scenes, if they're able to start putting together some of these edits. But so far, the word is mum on when we might see the back half of the season. But you're right, it's not going to be this year. Absolutely.
Honestly, because I was hoping, oh, maybe they'll go for like March or summer, but then I was like, but what if they just wait for next Halloween and it's like just part 1, part 2?
I think we'll see it in the spring if we can get the strike resolved like in the next couple of months. But again, it's like television is something where each episode is taking you almost a week and then you've got to edit it. Chucky is a show that requires a lot of additional hands because of the puppeteering, the FX, and so on. So, and actually, maybe before we close out, do you want to talk a little bit about any of the FX with the murders in the chandelier here?
Sarah Sherman's face falling off looked bad, but it was fun. Like it looked very cartoonish. Yeah. That being said, all the other bodies under the chandelier, I thought that was great. It was very ghost shippy.
Yes, that's actually what I thought too. And yeah, I think initially when the chandelier was falling, I thought that Chucky had outfitted it with knives, so we were going to see them falling.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that wasn't it, but it's fine.
But there is the shot though, like as it's kind of after the bolt falls and it's swinging, and you see all the little like whatever hangs from the chandelier, like they're kind of like swaying. I thought that looked really cool.
It did. It looked really good. Yeah.
So, but yeah. Any other thoughts before we close this out?
The dirty old man in me was like, I know we've talked about Zachary Arthur, but like, how fucking gay was it that he was, of course, like a cowboy who was wearing sleeveless, just showing off the guns?
I don't know if that was it's Arthur's decision to be like, hey, can you please have me as sleeveless as possible this season? Or if someone on set is a perv and is like, we're gonna make you sleeveless all season.
Yeah, it was just very funny where I was like, oh, he's embracing the gay attitude towards Halloween, where it's like you're basically showing up in sexy whatever.
Well, once he's of age, it'll just be underwear.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what we do. All right, everyone. Well, that has been the mid-season finale, Dressed to Kill, of Chucky. Let us know what you thought. Where do you think we're heading in the back half of the season whenever we get it? And what did you think about how this all I was gonna say tied up together, but we didn't really tie anything up here.
Yeah. How far we've come. Do you think that Chucky is going to die, as he dramatically declares at the end of the episode? Yes, I like that we actually got to see his face. And of course, he was old looking, and that was very fun.
It was fun. It's not like the biggest like end of season or mid-season reveal, but it's fun. All right. Well, I guess on that note, we can cross out Dress to Kill.
Indeed. And cross out Chucky queers.
Atlas Avenue, a long stretch of road that encompasses everything the city of Kennett Heights has to offer. Neon lights, traffic, crime, the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and the craziest of characters. My office was above it all. My name is James Locke, and I'm a PI.
Hello, Mr. J. How the hell you doing today?
Good, Edith. Nearly every year I have a new case. New people to meet, new clues to discover, and new problems to solve. But I do it the old-fashioned way. No technology. Nothing post-1950. Hell, I don't even listen to podcasts, but you should. Atlas Avenue Beat is a spoof of the film noir genre with goofy characters, tons of wordplay, and non-stop raunchy humor. There's also 3 whole seasons out right now with more on the way. Just search for Atlas Avenue Beat wherever you listen to podcasts or visit us online at bloody.fm.